What is up, Eagles fans? This is Evan, aka T Rock, coming at you guys today with some fan mail. Thank God. It's getting kind of worried there for a little bit. But obviously, I'm gonna pull through the first few things. The Senior Bowl had just ended this weekend. A lot of big winners in that game. Mike Adams really showed that he's a great offensive tackle and is going to be a good player in the NFL. Um, I could probably name about 30 different players that kind of improved their stock in that game. Um, there's a few things, obviously, that Andy Reid talked about today. He actually kind of did an injury update, which is nice. It's really nice to find out what's going on with the Eagles that finished the season either injured or on injured reserve, or finished off the season getting hurt. Let's start with Jamar Chaney. He just had surgery to repair his herniated disc 2 weeks ago. Andy Reid said he's doing good. He can't do too much right now. Obviously, we've had a couple players now that have had a herniated disc. We've also had players with sports hernia injuries. Obviously, Donovan McNabb. But he said he's doing good. They say the surgery went well. There's really nothing to know right now how he's going to progress through it and when he'll be ready to start practicing, getting ready for next season. Brent Selleck, obviously everybody realized how amazing he did this season after they found out how hurt he was throughout the year. He had a superlative second half, they say, and it was it's a lot more impressive that he needed two surgeries at the end of the season, one to fix his torn labrum and one to fix a sports hernia. Um, Andy Reid said that Selleck was moving up and moving around. He's off the crutches and he's moving around pretty good. But it's a little bit different. He's still trying to learn how to start moving around with these two injuries finally healing up. The most significant surgery was Mike Patterson. He underwent the AVM brain condition surgery that he had. Andy Reid talked to him yesterday, and he said he's doing very good. Early, they had him sedated. He's doing very well, very upbeat and positive. They had to dig. It was a very long surgery, so they had to dig in there to get to a spot where it was successful. Andy Reid goes on to say, by training camp, I think he'll be good unless there's a setback. Doctors are optimistic that he would be able to get himself back for training camp. Thank God. And obviously, the next person, Brandon Graham, he's one of the players to watch for the soft season. Thank God. He, uh, he's still getting ready from his ACL tear from last year after he got it um, surgically repaired. Um, Reed is still high on him. A lot of Eagles fans are still high on him. I really think he's going to be a great defensive end in this league. He reminds me a lot of Trent Cole. Andy Reid said, and I quote, I think we still need to see about Brandon, just where Brandon's at because of the injury. I thought his last pass rush before he got hurt was his best pass rush, so I think he was making progress there, so we'll see how things go. So that's just a real quick update on some of the players, both in the 2010 season and the 2011 season, that were injured or needed surgery at the end of the season, which is nice. Obviously, the renewed look on Juan Castillo, as he is definitely staying as a defensive coordinator. Um, Andy Reid also made a thing today on Deshaun Jackson's future. I'll get into that on a later video, because I mean he's just gonna say all the right things for now to make sure that no one gets too angry or too sad if one or the other happens. Um, obviously, we oh obviously we just got a new cornerbacks coach, secondary coach specializing in cornerbacks. Bowles, I believe Todd Bowles. I believe he's a pretty good player. He's a very good coach. He was the interim head coach for Miami last year for the last 3 games. They ended up going 2-1. They should have been 3-0. bad mistake at the end of the game cost them the game against the Patriots, but they still only lost by 3 points to a team that's now in the Super Bowl. So I think the Eagles really found one heck of a coach in Todd Bowles, and honestly, I think this is going to speed up Asante what we're going to do with Asante Samuel because of this hiring. Now let's get to the fan mail. I have a couple quick things to do. Mosley writes to me what do I think the Eagles are going to do in the draft. It's really tough to say. I mean, I think we still have to look at the combine and see how players rate, how players stack up with each other. I really can't say too much. There's a lot of players that were in the Senior Bowl that did a very, very good job that really have moved up the thing. And I would love to see Kellen Moore come to the Eagles maybe in a late round, but I don't really know. I don't really see that as a possibility. I mean, I think Kellen Moore is a great player. I think he's a great quarterback, but I don't think he's not a down the field thrower. He's more of a short to mid range thrower, a guy who's going to be ridiculously accurate within about 20 yards, 30 yards, and then start to lose a little bit of accuracy as it goes deeper and deeper into the onto the field. The other thing he asked was what I think is going to happen with Deshaun Jackson with the coaching staff. Obviously, we talked about the coaching staff. I don't think there's really going to be too much of a difference. I guarantee you Reed is going to be around for quite a while still. I don't see him going anywhere. Juan Castillo is going to just stay as defensive coordinator. I think it was great that we were able to pull Bowles, who was being considered as a fight for head coach for a couple different teams. We were able to pull him off and put him in a minor role. That's going to really make strides, especially when we look at last year's stats that we really didn't have that great of a core for the cornerbacks, even though we have 3 Pro Bowlers. So I think that's a good thing. Obviously, the next thing he asked was what I thought about the Deshaun Jackson situation and the linebacker situation. Mosley, I can tell you right now that the linebacker situation is a lot closer than we think it is. I think we have 2 great pieces in place at our outside linebackers. We have 2 great backups behind them. I think Moises Fokua was really coming in on his own before he got hurt, and if he continues to get better each year, I think he's going to be a really, really good linebacker for us if we can keep him around. And obviously, you look at the other 4 people. I mean, Brian Roll had made one hell of a transition from NCAA to NFL, especially when no one really expected him to be very good with his size. So I think we have a really good outside linebacker core of players that are going to be able to run with tight ends, going to be able to cover tight ends, cover players in the slot if they have to. And I think that we have a good chance of being able to find a middle linebacker. I've actually talked to a lot of people about the possibility of the Eagles bringing in maybe like a London Fletcher. I think we need a leader on this defense, and I think the last time we had a leader on this defense was Brian Dawkins. Honestly, the linebackers kind of just seem like a 3-headed monster without a head, and the monster part's not a good thing. A lot of times they say the 3-headed monster is a good thing because they're beasts, whatever, but I think we have 2 of the heads are tied on there tight and are great, but the third head, which is the middle head, is not a leader. So you got the 2 outside guys that are just kind of running around trying to cover everything. That's why I think we're bringing in like a London Fletcher who's had 7, 8, 9 years of experience in the NFL, and who's been a leader for the Washington Redskins for the last 2 years. I think if we could bring somebody like that in, that bulkiness, that quick pull to the offensive or into the offensive line and getting off of blocks, tackling people in the backfield. It's going to take a lot of pressure off Mike Patterson and Colin Jenkins in the middle to have to watch the run before they go for the pass and be able to go downhill more. And I think we're going to see a lot of production being upped from the defensive line, especially if we can get maybe a stud linebacker in the middle. I think that's our number 1 priority actually in the free agency this offseason. A lot of people are going to say, it's the Deshaun Jackson thing is going to be the main priority for free agency, but I just don't know. It's really tough to say. I can't even really make a push on whether or not he's going to be here or not because If we can franchise him and then trade him, we might do that. If we just franchise him, keep him around for the year, we could do that, or we could just let him go. There's three different ways that can go. So I'm not really sure. I don't want to say anything for sure. And then Steve Golford asked me a question actually about what I think. Honestly, what I think they need to do. Do they need to draft people for the defensive side in this draft? To that, I say maybe. If we can find a good returner that's also going to be, a defensive player, I think that's a good thing. Patrick Peterson has really blossomed into a great returner. He needs to work on his defense still. I think he's still only a nickel corner. I know they're going to have him starting, but I think he's still only a nickel cornerback. He's like Yoselio Hansen. I think he needs to get more into the bump and cover type of team, or he can maybe move to safety. I know they were talking about that yesterday on ESPN. I think it was Sports Center, just regular Sports Center. But I think, if anything, I think Patrick Peterson could really become, if he bulks up a little bit, could really become a great free safety. He doesn't have the amazing hands of a cornerback, but he also doesn't. He has that playmaking ability that you really look for in a safety, especially. I think he could be a great. If they could find another decent cornerback, I think he'd be a great safety for them. I mean, they're really lacking in the free safety area. They have a few guys back there that are good, but they're getting old. And if you're going in a different direction, and that's what the coach said from the Cardinals, if you're going in a different direction, they should move him back. But that's beside the point, obviously. I think that in this draft, the Eagles are going to definitely have to try to do something like in the middle. Grab some people from offense, grab some people from defense. I think we should look at offensive line. And I also think we should look at defensive tackle. There's a lot of really good defensive tackles coming out. And there's actually a couple linebackers, defensive ends, but players that could play linebacker that we might be able to move back maybe to middle linebacker. I know a lot of people have their high hopes for Queckley, the linebacker Queckley, but I gotta see like I said, I gotta see the combine times before I can actually push out anything about the draft. But I do know there's a pretty good amount of players in the draft that are wide receivers that really look good. There's a couple cornerbacks that have really good return ability. One guy had two punt returns for touchdowns in the Senior Bowl. No, one. That's right. He had two great punt returns, like of 60 and 58 yards, that ended up setting up the winning drives. But I think we need to look at what we can do, whether or not we're going to sign Deshaun Jackson as a punt returner, or if we're just going to sign Deshaun Jackson as our receiver. At this point, Macklin is the player that I think needs to be the number one receiver on our team. I think Jason Avant is still a number 3 receiver, one of those kind of players that is going to go out there, catch that ball in the middle of the field on a slant, and take the hit for the first down. We need that. I think he's definitely a spiritual leader on our offense. I think we do need, if there's anything, I think we should maybe look at possibly looking at a fullback, grabbing maybe a big bodied type of fullback, something that we can maybe put on our practice squad and test them out. We have that second-year player that was on our practice squad this year. Owen Schmidt is going to be a free agent. We don't know what's going to happen with that. And I think that we need to look into the future a little bit for some of our positions. We've done that in the last 2 or 3 drafts, so our skill positions are really nicely backed up by a lot of rookies and a lot of young guys. And the biggest thing of all, I actually talked to Robert or Mosley about this yesterday. Me and him were talking about Jaquan Jarrett and Kurt Coleman, and he agreed with me that he thinks Kurt Coleman could be a good player. But honestly, I think we need to give Jaquan Jarrett a big look at safety. I think he brings that intensity and that playmaking ability that we need in the safety position that we're kind of lacking. Keep an eye out for Nate Allen, guys. Just keep an eye out for Nate Allen. He's a hard worker. He's already in there working out, and I think we can really benefit from having him. So, T-Rock out.